The meeting room on Valian Prime was too hot for humans, but Admiral Hyunwoo didn't complain. He sat across from the alien delegation, his uniform crisp despite the uncomfortable temperature. The Valians looked like giant insects with their compound eyes and clicking mandibles, but Hyunwoo had dealt with stranger species during his 20 years of diplomatic service. Captain Jimin shifted in her chair next to him. She was Earth's lead trade representative, and her job was to secure mining rights in the outer Valian systems. These negotiations had been going on for 3 days, and everything seemed normal until Fleet Commander Kale Thar started asking questions about Earth's military. "Tell us about your fleet," Kale Thar said, his voice buzzing through the translator device. "We want to understand our new trading partners better." Hyunwoo smiled politely. "Earth maintains a small but effective fleet for exploration and diplomacy. We prefer peaceful solutions to conflicts." The Valian intelligence officer, Zet Malik, leaned forward. His compound eyes reflected the room's harsh lights. "Our scouts have been watching human space for months. You only have 3 ships. 3 ships for 47 colonies. How do you protect so many worlds with so few vessels?" Lieutenant Tae-ho, the youngest member of the human team, noticed how the alien's posture changed. He had studied alien behavior at the academy, and he recognized the signs. The Valians were no longer just curious. They were calculating. "Quality over quantity," Jimin said smoothly. "Earth has always believed that diplomacy prevents more conflicts than weapons ever could." Kale Thar's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "Diplomacy works when both sides have something to lose. What happens when someone decides your 3 little ships aren't worth respecting?" The room fell silent. Hyunwoo felt the temperature rise, and it wasn't just the alien climate control. "The galaxy has been peaceful for over a century," he said carefully. "Most civilized species understand that aggression leads to mutual destruction." "Most civilized species have fleets," Zet Malik replied. He activated a holographic display that showed detailed scans of human space. "Your exploration ship New Busan, your research vessel Incheon Dawn, your diplomatic ship Seoul's Pride. That's it. No battlecruisers, no carriers, no orbital defense platforms around Earth itself." Tae-ho watched the aliens study the hologram like predators examining wounded prey. He had read about the Valian Confederacy during the flight to their homeworld. They controlled 12 star systems through military force, and they respected only strength. "Earth's defenses are adequate for our needs," Hyunwoo said. His voice remained calm, but his hands stayed folded on the table to hide their slight trembling. Admiral Vorthek, the highest-ranking Valian in the room, had been quiet until now. He was ancient by their standards, with scars across his carapace from old battles. "Admiral Hyunwoo," he said slowly, "in my experience, species with small fleets either have hidden weapons or become slaves to those with larger ones." "Earth has no hidden weapons," Jimin said truthfully. "We believe in transparency with our allies." "Allies," Vorthek repeated. "Yes. It would be unfortunate if something happened to one of your precious few ships. Accidents happen in space. Pirates sometimes attack defenseless vessels. The galaxy can be a dangerous place for those who cannot protect themselves." The threat was clear, even through the polite diplomatic language. Tae-ho felt his heart racing, but he kept his expression neutral. The academy had trained him for situations like this. Hyunwoo stood up slowly. "I think we should take a break from these discussions. Perhaps everyone needs time to consider what kind of relationship our species want to build." "Of course," Kale Thar said. "Take all the time you need. We'll be here when you're ready to continue." The human delegation returned to their quarters on the diplomatic ship Seoul's Pride. The moment the door sealed behind them, Jimin activated the room's security shields and pulled out an encrypted communicator. "What are you doing?" Tae-ho asked. "Sending a message to Earth," she said grimly. "Code Amber. Possible hostile intent. Recommend Protocol 7 stand by." Hyunwoo nodded. "Good. How long until we can leave this system?" 6 hours, Tae-ho replied. "The ship needs to finish refueling." "Make it 4, Hyunwoo ordered. "I don't like the way they were looking at us." Unknown to the humans, Valian intelligence had been monitoring their communications since they arrived. The aliens' technology was more advanced than Earth realized, and the encrypted message was decoded within minutes. In the Valian Command Center, Zet Malik studied the intercepted transmission. Code Amber means they suspect we might attack them. Protocol 7 is unknown, but it sounds like some kind of defensive measure. Kael'thar looked at the message with satisfaction. They're already preparing to run. This confirms what we suspected. Humans are weak and paranoid. What do you want to do? Vorthek asked. We test them, Kael'thar decided. Send a fast attack squadron to intercept one of their ships. Something small and non-threatening. We'll see how they respond when cornered. Which ship? Zet Malik asked. The new Busan. It's just an exploration vessel with a small crew. Perfect for sending a message. Vorthek's scarred mandibles clicked thoughtfully. And if they fight back? With what? Kael'thar laughed. They admitted they have no weapons. At worst, they'll send an angry transmission to Earth. At best, they'll surrender and show the galaxy that humans can be pushed around. The other powers are watching, Vorthek warned. If we attack without provocation, it might encourage our enemies to act against us. Let them watch, Kael'thar said confidently. When they see how easily we handle Earth's fleet, they'll think twice about challenging the Confederacy. Fear is more useful than respect. On the Soul's Pride, Teho couldn't sleep. He stood in the observation deck, looking out at the alien. Stars. Something felt wrong about this whole situation. The Valians had seemed genuinely surprised by Earth's small fleet, but their reaction worried him. Jimin joined him at the window. Can't sleep either? I keep thinking about what Admiral Vorthek said, about accidents happening to defenseless ships. Earth ships aren't as defenseless as they think, Jimin said quietly. Teho looked at her with surprise. What do you mean? I mean that every human ship captain knows about Protocol 7. They know what it means and what it costs. Her expression was grim. The Valians think we're weak because we only have 3 ships. They don't understand that sometimes the smallest force can cause the biggest impact. I don't understand. Jimin was quiet for a long moment. Hopefully, you never will. Hopefully the Valians will be smart enough to leave us alone. But deep in the Valian Command Center, Fleet Commander Kael'thar was already drafting orders for his fast attack squadron. He planned to intercept the new Busan near the Kepler 442 system in 3 days. He believed it would be a simple demonstration of superior firepower. He had no idea that he was about to trigger something that would change the galaxy forever. The new Busan drifted quietly through space near the Kepler 442 system. Commander Dalmin stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the main view screen. His ship was 3 days out from their last research station, collecting data on potentially habitable worlds for Earth's colonial expansion program. Sir, we're detecting multiple contacts approaching fast, reported Navigator Jun-Ho from his station. 6 ships, Valian configuration. Dalmin nodded calmly, as if he had been expecting this news. Put them on screen. The view screen shifted to show 6 sleek alien warships closing in on their position. The Valian vessels were twice the size of the new Busan and bristled with weapon ports. They're hailing us, Communications Officer Sungmi announced. Put them through. The screen filled with the image of Captain Thelvok, commander of the Valian squadron. His compound eyes glittered with confidence as he spoke through the translator. Human vessel New Busan. This is Captain Thelvok of the Valian Fast Attack Squadron. You will surrender immediately for inspection. Dalmin remained standing calmly, at the center of his bridge. Captain Thelvok, this is Commander Dalmin. We are conducting peaceful research in neutral space. Under interstellar law, you have no authority to detain us. We have reports that your vessel may be carrying weapons that pose a threat to Confederacy space. Thelvok lied smoothly. You will comply with our inspection or face the consequences. Science Officer Nari quietly activated her recording equipment from her station at the back of the bridge. Her face was grim as she began documenting everything. She knew what was about to happen. They all did. Captain Thelvok, I must ask you to reconsider your actions, Dalmin said politely. This is an unprovoked act of aggression against a peaceful research vessel. I strongly advise you to withdraw your ships. The Valian captain's mandibles clicked in amusement. You are in no position to give advice, human. Your single ship against my squadron. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Dalmin looked around his bridge at his crew of 43 souls. Each face showed the same expression of sad determination. They had all known this day might come when they signed up for deep space service. Every human who served on Earth's ships understood the risks and the responsibilities. "Sir," whispered his first officer, Dong Jun, "they're charging weapons." Dalmin nodded and activated the ship's internal communication system. "All hands, this is the commander. Prepare for Protocol 7 implementation. You have 2 minutes to send personal messages." Throughout the New Busan, crew members quickly accessed their personal terminals. Some sent final words to family on Earth. Others recorded messages for loved ones they would never see again. A few simply sat quietly, making peace with what was about to happen. Nari finished uploading all sensor data to the quantum beacon that would carry their final report back to Earth faster than any ship could travel. The information would reach Earth Defense Command within hours, but it would be too late to save them. Dalmin opened a secure channel to Earth Command. "This is Commander Dalmin of the New Busan. We are under attack by Valian forces in the Kepler 4I42 system. Protocol 7 will be implemented in 90 seconds. Tell our families we served with honor." Back on the bridge, Captain Thelvok was growing impatient. "Human vessel, you have 30 seconds to comply before we disable your ship." Dalmin took a deep breath and activated the ship-wide communication system one final time. "This is New Busan to Valian Fleet. You have 30 seconds to withdraw. We are prepared to accept the cost. Are you?" The Valian bridge crew erupted in chittering laughter. Science Officer Yelnara looked up from her instruments with amusement. "Sir, they're not even charging weapons. Their shields are actually powering." "Down. Typical human bluffing," Thelvok said with satisfaction. "They think empty threats will save them. All ships, prepare to disable the human vessel. Target their engines and communication systems. I want them alive to answer questions." Dalmin stood straight as the countdown reached 10 seconds. "For humanity," he said quietly. "For humanity," his crew responded. The first Valian energy beam lanced out and struck the New Busan's hull, but instead of the expected damage, something else began to happen. The ship's hull started to crack, but not from the alien attack. Internal explosions began in carefully planned sequences throughout the vessel. "What's happening?" Thelvok demanded. From his bridge, Yelnara stared at her instruments in growing alarm. "Sir, the human ship is overloading its own systems. Massive power buildup detected in their engine room. This doesn't match any known weapon signature." Dalmin activated his personal log recorder with trembling fingers. "Protocol 7 initiated. Antimatter containment failing in controlled sequence. God help us all." The New Busan didn't simply explode. The controlled antimatter detonation tore a hole in space-time itself. The fusion of matter and antimatter created a localized gravitational anomaly that began pulling in everything nearby. "All ships, emergency retreat!" Thelvok screamed, but it was too late for 2 of his destroyers. The expanding gravitational field caught them and crushed their hulls like paper before pulling them into the growing anomaly. The remaining 4 Valian ships barely escaped as reality warped and twisted around the epicenter of the explosion. Space itself bent and folded as the antimatter reaction created forces that shouldn't exist in normal physics. When the chaos finally ended, there was nothing left where the New Busan had been except a slowly dissipating cloud of exotic particles and twisted space-time. The 2 Valian destroyers had been completely consumed, along with their crews of over 300 aliens. Captain Thelvok stared at the empty space where 5 ships had been moments before. His hands shook as he tried to process what had happened. "Report," he managed to whisper. "The human vessel deliberately overloaded their antimatter containment system," Yelnara said in a stunned voice. "They created a controlled singularity. I've never seen anything like it." "They killed themselves," muttered Weapons Officer Colden. "They destroyed their own ship rather than surrender. And they took 2 of ours with them," Thelvok added grimly. "Send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them the human vessel has been destroyed. But we lost the destroyers, Vakthor and Zelmin, in the process." "Should we mention how they died?" Yelnara asked. Thelvok considered this. If he reported that a single human research ship had destroyed itself and taken 2 Valian warships with it, It might make the Confederacy look weak. Better to claim a military victory and downplay the losses. Tell them the human vessel was destroyed with minimal casualties on our side, he decided. Their threats were empty after all. But Yelnara continued studying the sensor data from the explosion. The energy patterns didn't match any known weapon in the galactic database. More disturbing, the antimatter reaction had been too controlled, too precise to be an accident. The humans had planned this. She began to wonder what kind of species would design their own ships to become weapons of mass destruction rather than allow them to be captured. What kind of people would choose death over defeat so absolutely? As the Valian squadron limped back toward their territory, none of them realized they had just triggered something that would consume the galaxy in fire. The New Busan's final transmission was already racing toward Earth at quantum speeds, carrying with it the news that would activate humanity's ultimate protocol. On Earth, Admiral So Young would receive the message in 3 hours, and when she did, she would give the I order that would change everything. The message from the New Busan reached Earth exactly 3 hours and 17 minutes after the ship's destruction. Admiral So Young was in her office beneath Seoul when the quantum transmission arrived through the emergency channels. The simple words on her screen made her blood run cold. Protocol 7 activated. New Busan destroyed. Valian aggression confirmed. 43 souls lost. Commander Dalmin. Final transmission. So Young sat back in her chair and closed her eyes. She had hoped this day would never come. For 200 years, humanity had prepared for this moment while praying it would never arrive. Now the choice was in her hands. General Wu Jin and Colonel Minji entered her office within minutes of the alert. Their faces showed the same grim understanding that weighed on So Young's heart. "How long do we have?" Wu Jin asked. "The Valians will probably move against our other ships within days," So Young replied. "Once they realize what happened to their destroyers, they'll either back down or escalate. Based on their psychology profiles, they'll escalate." Minji activated the wall display showing human space. 47 colonies glowed like stars across the galaxy, each one home to millions of people who had no idea their fate was being decided. In this underground bunker, all colonies are reporting ready status, Minji said quietly. The evacuation drills worked. Population centers are moving to deep shelters. The outer settlements are activating their final protocols. So Young nodded. Every human colony had been built with the same terrible purpose in mind, not just as homes for Earth's children, but as weapons that could sterilize entire regions of space if necessary. On Kepler 438b, Director Kyung Ho watched 4 million colonists file into the massive underground shelters that had been carved from the planet's bedrock. Children asked their parents why they were going underground, and the adults struggled to find words that wouldn't cause panic. "It's just a drill," Kyung Ho announced over the colony's communication system. "Everyone stay calm and follow the evacuation procedures we've practiced." But it wasn't a drill, and everyone knew it. The shelters were designed to protect the population for exactly 47 minutes, long enough to say goodbye, but not long enough to suffer. Governor Yun Hai on Proxima Centauri B stood in her command center, watching her staff prepare the colony's final protocol systems. The planet's fusion reactors were being overloaded in carefully controlled stages. If the order came from Earth, Proxima Centauri B would become a star for exactly 47 minutes before burning itself out. "Governor," her aide whispered, "the children are asking questions." "What do we tell them?" Yun Hai looked out at the city she had helped build over 30 years. Beautiful towers reaching toward alien skies, parks where human children played alongside native creatures. Farms that fed millions. All of it would be gone if Admiral So Young gave the final order. "Tell them the truth," she said finally. "Tell them that sometimes good people have to make terrible choices to protect others." Meanwhile, the Valian Confederacy was intercepting human communications and drawing completely wrong conclusions. Intelligence Chief Mordash presented his analysis to the Confederacy Council with confidence. "The humans are panicking," he reported. "Their colonies are evacuating population centers. Their remaining ships are broadcasting surrender codes. They're clearly preparing to give up." Fleet Commander Kelthar laughed with satisfaction. "One destroyed research vessel and they're ready to surrender their entire civilization. This confirms everything we thought about their weakness." "What about the strange energy readings from their colonies?" asked Counselor Veltarg Mordash. waved dismissively, probably powering down their defensive systems as a sign of surrender. Standard procedure when facing superior force. But on Earth, Dr. HFY was studying data that painted a very different picture. As humanity's leading xenoarchaeologist, she had spent decades examining the ruins of dead civilizations scattered across the galaxy. The pattern was always the same, and it was terrifying. She stood before the Earth Defense Command's senior staff, her presentation filling the room with images of cosmic devastation. 17 different species across galactic history, she said. All technologically advanced, all capable of interstellar travel, all dead. The images showed worlds turned to glass, star systems empty except for radioactive debris, entire regions of space where nothing could survive. The destruction was total and absolute. The Keth Mori Empire vanished overnight 3,000 years ago, Dr. HFY continued. The Zeldin Confederation died in simultaneous explosions across 12 systems. The Vorthkai Republic left nothing but gamma radiation and twisted metal. General Wu Jin studied the images with growing understanding. They all died the same way. Exactly. And in every case, archaeological evidence shows they were attacked by or were attacking a smaller, seemingly weaker species just before their destruction. Dr. HFY's voice was steady, but her hands trembled as she spoke. We're not the first civilization to develop the Damocles Protocol. We won't be the last. Admiral So Young felt the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. How many species survived encounters with these defensive protocols? None that we've found, Dr. HFY replied. The pattern suggests that when a species develops this level of defensive capability, they use it completely. No survivors, no partial victories, total, mutual annihilation. Colonel, Minji pulled up the current status reports from human space. All colonies report ready. All fusion reactors are in pre-overload status. All civilian populations are in deep shelters. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the magnitude of what they were contemplating. 47 worlds, 3 billion human lives, all ready to die to prevent the Valian Confederacy from learning that aggression could be profitable. There's one more thing, Dr. HFY said quietly. In every case, the attacking species was completely destroyed, but so were several innocent bystanders. The defensive protocols don't discriminate. When activated, they sterilize everything within their effective range. So Young looked at the star charts showing not just Valian territory, but the neutral worlds caught between human and alien space. Billions of innocent lives hung in the balance. How long do we have to decide? Wu Jin asked. The Valians are massing their grand fleet, Minji reported. 847 warships heading toward Earth. They'll arrive in approximately 72 hours. So Young stood and walked to the window that showed nothing but underground rock. Somewhere far above, Earth's population went about their daily lives, unaware that their species stood on the edge of extinction. Send the activation codes to all colonies, she said finally. Full Damocles Protocol. If the Valians cross into our territory with hostile intent, we implement total sterilization. Admiral, Wu Jin said softly, once we activate, there's no going back. Every human world becomes a weapon pointed at the galaxy. I know, So Young replied. But the alternative is allowing aggressors to learn that violence pays. History shows us what happens to civilizations that make that choice. As the activation code spread across human space at quantum speeds, 47 worlds began their final preparations. Deep underground, children asked their parents why everyone seemed so sad. On the surface, fusion reactors hummed with deadly purpose. The Valian Grand Fleet continued its approach to Earth, confident in their overwhelming numerical superiority. They had no idea they were flying straight into a trap that would consume everything within 50 light years. Fleet Admiral Kolthan stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Vac Destroyer, as 847 Valian warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system. The massive fleet stretched across space like a metal constellation, each ship bristling with weapons capable of cracking planets. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human orbital station, reported Communications Officer Thel Nara. Put it through, Kolthan ordered, expecting to hear desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, a calm human voice filled the bridge. This is Captain Subin of Earth Orbital Monitoring Station Sejongzai to Valian Fleet. You have approximately 4 hours to withdraw beyond the heliopause. After that, we can no longer guarantee your safety." The Valian bridge crew chittered with amusement. One small orbital station threatening the most powerful fleet in Confederacy history seemed like a joke. "Human, this is Fleet Admiral Colthan of the Valian Grand Fleet. You will surrender immediately and prepare for occupation. Your pathetic threats mean nothing to us." Captain Subin's response was matter-of-fact, almost casual. "Admiral, I'm not making threats. I'm giving you accurate information about our defensive capabilities. Your sensors should be detecting massive energy buildups throughout this system. Those readings are real." Dr. Yell Quinn, the fleet's chief physicist, looked up from his instruments with growing concern. "Sir, she's right. I'm detecting enormous energy signatures from the planet's core. This doesn't match anything in our database." Colthan studied the readings with confusion. The energy levels were impossible. Nothing that small could generate that much power without destroying itself immediately. "Explain these readings," he demanded from Captain Subin. "Certainly," Subin replied. "Over the past 2 centuries, humanity has modified Earth's core structure with controlled fusion devices, not as weapons but as a final guarantee. If our species faces extinction, we'll trigger a stellar-scale explosion that will sterilize everything within 50 light-years." The bridge fell silent. Dr. Yell Quinn ran the calculations 3 times before he believed the results. "Admiral," he whispered, "if she's telling the truth, the energy release would create a gamma-ray burst visible from neighboring galaxies. It would strip the atmospheres from hundreds of worlds, including our home world." Commander Haijun's voice came through the communication system from Earth's remaining diplomatic vessel. "Admiral Colthan, you have one final chance to avoid catastrophe. Withdraw your fleet now, and we'll power down our systems in 12 hours. Continue your aggression, and we'll ensure that no species in this region of the galaxy will ever again profit from violence." Political advisor Thayer Mell stepped forward on the Valian bridge. "Sir, we cannot back down now. Our enemies are watching. If the Confederacy retreats from 3 human ships, we'll look weak throughout the galaxy. The Rigel Coalition will attack us within months." Colthan nodded grimly. The advisor was right. The Confederacy's power depended on projecting strength. Backing down from humans would invite attacks from every enemy they had ever made. "But, sir," Dr. Yell Quinn protested, "if they're telling the truth about their defensive capabilities, we're all dead. Every ship in this fleet. Every world in Confederacy space." "They're bluffing," Thermel insisted. "No species would destroy itself just to kill enemies. It's evolutionary suicide." On Earth's surface, Admiral So Young stood in the deepest bunker, beneath Sol, her hand resting on the biometric scanner that would end human civilization. Around her, the command staff waited quietly. Above them, Earth's population had moved into the deep shelters, saying goodbye to families and friends. "Admiral," General Wu Jin reported, "all colonies confirm ready status. Fusion reactors are at critical pre-overload. Population evacuation complete. We're ready for final implementation." So Young looked at the display showing the Valian fleet in orbit. 847 ships filled with thousands of alien lives, families, children, dreams, and hopes, all about to die because their leaders couldn't understand that some choices have consequences too terrible to survive. "Any response to our final warning?" she asked. "They're charging weapons," Colonel Minji reported. "Long-range planet crackers. They intend to bombard Earth from a safe distance." Captain Subin's voice came through the communication system one last time. "Valian fleet, you are making a mistake that will cost both our species everything. Please, reconsider. There's still time to choose peace." Fleet Admiral Colthan looked around his bridge at the faces of his officers. Young aliens who had joined the fleet to serve their people, not to die in a distant solar system. But retreat meant weakness, and weakness meant death for the Confederacy. "All ships maintain formation," he ordered. "Charge planet crackers. We'll bombardment Earth from maximum range. If they want to die, we'll help them. But we're not getting close enough for their supposed superweapon to reach us." Dr. Yell Quinn stared at his instruments in horror. The energy readings from Earth were increasing exponentially. Whatever the humans had built, it was real and it was powering up. "Sir, please reconsider," he begged. "The energy signature matches theoretical models for induced stellar collapse. If they trigger it, the explosion will reach us even at this distance. Enough, Kolthon snapped. Prepare to fire. On Earth, Admiral So Young received the final report from her sensor technicians. The alien fleet is charging weapons. They're preparing to destroy our planet. She looked around the command center at the faces of Earth's last offenders. These men and women had volunteered to stay behind and ensure the protocol worked correctly. They would die first, vaporized in the initial blast, but their sacrifice would guarantee that the message reached every corner of the galaxy. For all, the species that came before us, So Young said quietly, and all who will come after us. No more bullies, no more aggressors, no more civilizations destroyed because they couldn't defend themselves. She placed her palm on the scanner. Above them, Captain Subin made her final transmission to the galaxy. This is Earth control to all civilizations monitoring this frequency. What you are about to witness is the cost of choosing violence over diplomacy. We tried to warn them. We offered them the choice. Remember that when you write the history of what happens next. The scanner accepted Admiral So Young's palm print and began the final countdown. Throughout Earth's core, fusion devices that had waited 2 centuries for this moment began their cascade activation. Fleet Admiral Kolthon gave his final order. All ships, fire. The planet cracker beams lanced out across space toward Earth, just as the fusion cascade reached critical mass in the planet's core. For one brief moment, 200 years of human preparation met 800 years of Valian military might. The humans had known this moment would come. They had prepared for it, planned for it, and accepted it. They were ready to pay the price. The question was whether the galaxy would learn from what was about to happen. The explosion was visible from 3 neighboring galaxies. Earth didn't just die, it became a star for exactly 47 minutes, consuming everything within the solar system and sending a directed gamma-ray burst toward the Valian Confederacy. The planet's core fusion devices had been placed with mathematical precision over 2 centuries, creating a controlled stellar collapse that turned humanity's homeworld into the largest weapon ever constructed. Observer Nalteth of the Neutral Centauri Union watched from his monitoring station 300 light-years away as 47 human worlds simultaneously turned themselves into supernovas. His instruments could barely process the cascade of destruction spreading across an entire spiral arm of the galaxy. By the void, he whispered, they actually did it. Every single colony at once. The human settlements had been carefully placed. Over 200 years of expansion, creating overlapping fields of gamma radiation that ensured no aggressor could escape. Each world's fusion reactors had been synchronized to trigger within seconds of each other, turning humanity's greatest achievement into their final weapon. Fleet Admiral Kolthon had exactly 17 seconds to understand what was happening, before his flagship was vaporized by the expanding wave of stellar energy. His last thought was a prayer to whatever gods might listen that his species would forgive him for what he had brought upon them. The Valian Grand Fleet of 847 ships ceased to exist in less than a minute. They were caught in the gamma-ray burst from Earth's transformation, their hulls melting like ice under a blowtorch. No escape pods launched, no distress signals were sent. They simply vanished in a flash of cosmic fire, but the destruction was only beginning. The synchronized explosions created a web of gamma radiation that spread across space at the speed of light. The Valian homeworld, 200 light-years from Earth, would have 200 years to prepare for its death. But the closer Valian colonies had no warning at all. The Confederacy's military bases were consumed first, then their mining colonies, then their research stations. Within days, the expanding radiation reached their core systems, stripping atmospheres from planets and sterilizing everything in its path. 6 months later, the Valian Confederacy was extinct. Every world, every ship, every trace of their civilization had been burned away in humanity's final gamma-ray storm. 12 star systems that had once bustled with alien life now contained nothing but radioactive debris drifting through empty space. But humanity was gone too. 3 billion souls across 47 worlds, all dead in a synchronized act of species-wide suicide that had taken their enemies with them. Historian Wellmore of the Galactic Archive received the final human transmission exactly 1 year after the destruction. It had been broadcast on all frequencies as the last human colony prepared for its transformation into a star. To whoever finds this record, the message began, we were farmers, teachers, artists, and dreamers. We explored the galaxy seeking friendship and knowledge. We built homes among the stars and raised our children to believe in peace. We never wanted war. The transmission came from Governor Eun-hye on Proxima Centauri b, recorded moments before her world became a supernova. Her voice was calm despite the magnitude of what was about to happen. We learned from history that some species cannot coexist with others peacefully. We studied the ruins of dead civilizations and recognized the pattern of aggression leading to mutual destruction. Rather than become another victim, we chose to perfect the process. The recording continued with technical details that made Wellmore's hands shake. Humanity had spent 2 centuries planning their own extinction. Every colony ship had carried fusion devices. Every settlement had been built with self-destruction protocols. Every human adult had known about the Damocles Protocol and voted to maintain it generation after generation. We became something we hated to ensure that those who chose violence would pay the ultimate price for that choice, Governor Eun-hye's voice continued. We pray that our sacrifice will teach other species to choose diplomacy over force. But if not, if there are others like the Valians out there, remember that. The cost of aggression is always higher than the price of wisdom. Ambassador Trelkova of the Rigel Coalition presented the final report to the emergency session of the Galactic Council. Representatives from 100 species gathered to discuss what the media had dubbed the Terran Gambit. The human strategy appears to have been in development for over 200 years, Trelkova announced. They systematically colonized worlds in strategic positions where their simultaneous destruction would create overlapping gamma-ray fields capable of sterilizing vast regions of space. The council chamber was silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't just committed suicide. They had turned their entire civilization into a weapon pointed at anyone who might threaten them. They maintained a deliberately small fleet to appear weak while actually serving as a detection system, continued the ambassador. The moment anyone attacked their ships, it triggered protocols that would destroy everything within a 50 light-year radius. Dr. Zenkari, the galaxy's leading xenopsychologist, presented her analysis of human psychological profiles recovered from the ruins. They weren't bluffing, she reported. Every human adult knew about Protocol 7 and the Damocles option. They voted on it in democratic elections, generation after generation, and chose to maintain it. The council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The idea that an entire species would willingly choose extinction rather than allow aggressors to profit from violence was beyond their understanding. Most disturbing, Dr. Zenkari continued, is that they were prepared for this outcome. Human parents told their children stories about the day they might have to die to protect others. Human schools taught classes on the moral necessity of ultimate sacrifice. They raised their entire civilization to accept species-wide death as an acceptable price for galactic peace. In the months that followed, the Galactic Council established the Terran Protocols. Strict rules about first contact were implemented. Aggressive actions against unknown species were banned under penalty of complete trade embargo. Military buildups near uncontacted civilizations became grounds for immediate intervention. Memorial Keeper Dalyon tended to the monument erected in what had once been Earth's solar system. The monument floated in space where Earth's moon had once orbited, now a radioactive cinder drifting through the cosmic graveyard. The monument bore a simple message in 1,000 languages. Here died humanity, not because they were weak, but because they refused to let strength be used for evil. They knew the cost and paid it willingly, so that others might choose a better path. Carved beneath the main inscription were the final words of Admiral So Young, preserved in quantum crystals that would last until the heat death of the universe. We hope we were wrong about what was necessary. We pray that our sacrifice will teach others to choose peace. But if not, if there are others like the Valians out there, remember that the cost of aggression is always higher than the price of wisdom, the galaxy learned. In the centuries that followed, no species dared test an unknown civilization's resolve. The memory of humanity's choice became the foundation of galactic law. Diplomacy became the first option, not the last resort. Sometimes, children of other species would ask their parents about the empty systems where humans once lived. The adults would tell them about a species that chose to die rather than let bullies win. They knew the cost. They still paid it, and the galaxy became a more peaceful place because of their sacrifice.